Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker, and today I'm going to be showing you how I edit. This is a fairly heavily requested video, so I said I would just do it because the weather is terrible. I have a couple of videos I want to make on the bike, they're just going to be delayed by hopefully not too long, but look, I said I'd get this one done anyway. So what do I use to edit? First and foremost, I use Adobe Premiere Pro on a monthly subscription. Yes, it's expensive, but it was something I got a free trial of, and I liked how it worked, so I thought it was worth investing in the channel to give you all the best quality that I could manage. Plus, there's a lot of tutorials and teaching stuff out there for Adobe, which is also why I went with that. To be honest, because obviously I came into this whole YouTube thing completely unaware of how to do anything. So the more support I could find is what I decided to do with that. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is hit new project. We're going to hit new project. It will work, and we'll say just editing video. Now, one thing I'm going to have to do is just rearrange my screens here real quick, so give me a second. So it's going to be different for me to actually edit here today, because this is not something I usually have on this screen. I usually have it on a second monitor, but that's okay. So we'll go media browser. What will we use? Yeah, so we'll use this mileage on trips video that I recently did already, but we're just going to re-import it. So the way I separate out my folders is, I'll show you here. I have a videos raw folder and on a secondary drive, and this is how I put everything. So everything from the GoPro goes in GoPro, Osmo goes in Osmo, 360 camera goes in 360. This is my sound file. These are screenshots I take throughout the video that I might want to use for thumbnails or whatever else, and this is the edited screenshot that I actually ended up using for that thumbnail. So that's just how I arrange my videos, so I have easy access to them later. And then when I'm finished with the video, these three folders usually get deleted, and I will often keep a lot of the photos I've taken with my nice camera. Obviously, this entire folder can be deleted once that video is released, because it's actually, how big is it? It's 70 gigs. So one video for me was 70 gigabytes. So it's not practical to keep them. Anyway, so go into GoPro, and I'll select all, which is Control and A. Right click and import. Go back. We'll grab, why did it do that to me now? This is something I've been doing recently by accident, and it's really, really annoying. Mileage on trips, there it is. Osmo, we'll select all, import. They're all in, media browser. 360 camera, we'll just grab the video files from the 360 camera. It's really important when you bring in your 360 files from an Insta360 One X2, do not rename them. I learned the hard way that these are actually linked as, like, looking this way and looking that way, purely from the name. So if you rename them, it just messes up completely and you can't use them. Now, if you are lucky enough that you can rename them back to exactly what they were, it does work again, but they do need to be linked. So for me, the easiest way is just to not rename them. You don't need to anyway. So that's a little tip. And then we'll also just grab the sound file. So how I'm going to start off this then is I always start from the GoPro on these videos, and I'll just drag and drop in GoPro number 1. Then I'm going to find Osmo number 1, which is the front-facing camera. I'll drag and drop that in. The reason I'm leaving these spaces here is for adjustment layers. I'll explain that in a second. And then, is this the one at the church? It looks like it. We'll drag and drop in the 360 video. I don't need to do it the sound. And then finally drag and drop in my sound file. So I'm just going to turn up my desktop audio here, so you can hear this in a second. So what I'm going to do now is just mute all these and hide the two streams that aren't the GoPro. I'm going to press play. Now let's skip forward. I usually look for, see these three spikes here? That's probably me clapping, so I'm just going to skip forward and hope it is.
Start.
There you go. So that's my clap. And I listen for the clap. You can also zoom in and look at the actual spike if you want. And I just delete that section at the very start of the video. And then I'm going to go through and do the exact same for the other videos.
There.
Delete that. Line it up. And then to do this properly or easily with the 360 camera, first what we're going to do is we're going to search for an effect called Gopro Reframe. This is something you can install, and I won't go into it in this video because it's not what it's for, but if you want to install, if you want to use Insta360 stuff on Adobe, you need to go on to their website and install the GoPro FX Reframe and their own plugin, the way they describe. And what that does is, so say here, if we undo, right, undo, the raw footage looks like this. It's just a big bleh. And what the GoPro FX Reframe allows us to do is, it's actually applied there now, it just puts it down into a window. I'll fill the screen then because these are all not, their native file was 2.7K. And this file is reframed to 1080p. You can change that around if you want. You can see here. Personally, I just leave it as 1080p and upscale it. I just think that's the easiest way to do it. For how I edit anyway. Again, if you film with your GoPro in native 4K, then you could obviously select this GoPro FX Reframe and put it to 4K 16:9. But that's just going to make it far too big for my one, and then I'd have to change that down to whatever it might be, 71% probably. Is that right? We'll go 69. Yeah, so about 71. But you can do either or. So like right now we can leave that as 4K. It doesn't really make a difference. Then what I'll do from the get-go, so this is applied to my whole file, is I will enable pan, tilt, rotate, and zoom tracing, and I'll change it to continuous Bezier because I just think that's the nicest movement. And then I will go and find the claps here. There. Now, one thing with the Insta One X2, I find the sound is a little bit off in comparison to the rest one, so I just actually look for where I think the hand clap looks like it's lined up the best, and that's how I do that one. And the last one is just the audio, which you have to listen for. Line that up. Then I'll just click this empty space here, shift and delete, and that brings it back to the start. And that's kind of a global thing. So say if we were to just cut this out and you wanted to move it in, you'd shift and delete, and it deletes and fills the empty space. So then what I'm going to do is unlink all of my video files from the audio files, which is right click, unlink, delete all of them because I don't want those audio files, and just keep my in-helmet audio. Okay, so that's kind of the very, very start. And then obviously Control and S to save, and I'll just save constantly. One nice thing about Premiere Pro is your file up here, you'll see it in a minute, it gets a little star, a little asterisk, if you haven't saved it. So it tells you sort of the day I'm not saved, and obviously if you try to close it and stuff. But personally, as soon as I make a change, I just Control S, Control S, Control. I spam that thing because there's been too many times where I've lost a lot of work I've put into a video because of a crash or something, or I've forgotten to save, or we've gotten a power outage or something. So it's not worth the risk. So then the next step is to right click and go to audio gain. Then I'm going to normalize max peaks to -6. Now, this isn't a catch-all, okay, and I'll show you in bits of the video. This is very much doing 90% of my work for me. So when I set them all to -6, anywhere where my audio recorder, I haven't shouted or there hasn't been a very loud noise, all of those sound levels are going to be correct. However, if there's a really loud noise, the audio recorder will tail it down so it doesn't blow out, and it takes a little while to adjust back up. So that is one thing to be aware of as well, and I'll show you that in a second, that we'll go through it. So then I'm going to click on this audio tab here and hit click on. So if you weren't clicked on this, click on this. So we were in editing. I'm going to audio, clicking on my sound file, and then clicking on dialogue. From here, what I apply to every single one of my videos is vocal presence to just try clear out as much wind noise and other background noise as possible. Click on enhanced speech and low tone. This used to be female and male, but obviously not all females have high tone voices, not all males have low tone voices, so they changed it to high tone, low tone. Low tone works the best with my voice. I have checked high tone just to see does it obviously come out better, but yeah, low tone works best for me, so that's why I do it that way. Then this is something that a friend of mine who has a channel himself and produces very high quality videos, GorillaBiker, he showed me this. So audio effects, amplitude and compression, and multi-band compressor. I then apply that to the sound file. It's a simple drag and drop. You can also search for these things, so if this was closed up here, you can type in multi-band compressor and just multi, and there it is. So I do the type search a lot once you learn what you want. You can add folders and stuff as well to this. I've never bothered, it's never slowed me down enough to cause me a problem. But then the last thing I do is I scroll down on this window here, which is effects controls. I scroll down to the multi-band compressor, and all I do is apply the preset broadcast. This is something that I feel changed how I felt about my audio, because when I apply the broadcast, it boosts your vocals. So we'll turn it off to default. We'll have a quick listen here.
Today we're going to be talking about distances on bikes and why it's different in Ireland.
Okay, so that's that, and now we're going to apply broadcast, and you'll see the difference. It's quite flat without the broadcast.
Today we're going to be talking about distances on bikes and why it's different in Ireland and America.
And that for me is a huge thing, because it just adds body to your voice. It's like a more natural one. And why I feel that preset it works well is obviously if you're recording onto a microphone for a broadcast, it might come across quite flat. So obviously that preset is developed for that. So that's why I use it. The next step of what I do is I will right click anywhere in this empty space here in my project window. New item, and where is it? Adjustment layer. I just leave it as it's the standard thing. I've actually never tried any of the rest of these, but square pixels works fine, and I hit OK. Now this adjustment layer I then drag in onto my different files, or my different video files, and from here what we want to do is adjust the color. So for instance, I'll go to color, and I want to change the one for the GoPro first. I'm sorry, this is really small here now, because like I said, I'll have to rearrange all these later. It's okay though, so here you go. So what I do then is basic correction, and I can't see anything now. This is, oh yeah, because you can't see my other screen. I'll do it and I'll show you then. So I'll just adjust, we'll just change everything around. I usually turn down highlights because I don't have any form of filter on my GoPro, which I really want to get. Depending on the day in Ireland, I'll turn up or down shadows, so I'll just turn them down a bit here, which is inversely you turn them up. Whites are fine, and saturation, because I shoot my GoPro in like flat color, I'll do that to not 300, 120, or sometimes 125. It depends on how the colors look. And my whole goal here is to make this look as close to what I saw on the day as possible. That's how I do it. Now, creative looks, you have lots of imported things here that I've literally never used one of them. You can go monochrome. Personally, I leave it as none, and I then just adjust. I sharpen to 50-60, and I'll turn up my vibrance. I usually type this in for the GoPro to about 15. If we pop back here, so this is the screen here. Ooh, I'll try and make this a bit bigger. So if I turn this off, you'll see now in a second. So that is on, that's off, on, off, on, off. the whole thing is, for me, is I don't change the colours much. Literally all I ever try to do is make it look like how it looked to me. So we'll try to go to something a bit more vibrant. Show you all. Just drag up my timeline, so pull that open. Whoop. So here we go. So on, off, on, off, on, off. I do have a preset I use sometimes as well, that I made myself. Like I would probably put it on. I think I did put it on this one. It just, again, it adds kind of darker tones to everything. It makes it look a bit more how it looked in my eyes. But obviously everyone's eyes are different. Everyone sees color differently. So, you know, maybe it doesn't work for some people. And then there's also, I do the same then for the rest of the files. Each one is different. So again, obviously with this one here, which is the Osmo, and that's a beautiful head angle there, Michael. Beautiful. With the Osmo, I generally don't do much because it's a face camera. I have it left as it is, but you know, you can turn up and down shadows there. If you turn up shadows, I would turn down highlights. You know, I'm just going to go to the extreme here. You know, everything changes stuff quite a lot. You know, I can completely turn down the colors, completely turn them up. And what I would recommend here is just, you can see the difference there. Just play around with it yourself. Go into that color screen. You can download presets. That might work even better for you. And just go through that. But then all I ever do is basically, as I edit,
you can see this was founded by,
and obviously that camera angle doesn't work there. We use this one, right? So what I'll do then is I'll just make all of these cuts here, delete the top 4 pieces because I don't need them for the final video, and then I'll say, okay, we're gonna do the 360 cam.
Yeah, William Earl Marshall the Younger in 1225. We're just gonna have a quick look because it's really cool.
And obviously I wouldn't use that particular camera angle there because it wouldn't make any sense. I would have stayed on the GoPro, but just as an example, that's what I would do, and chop, chop, chop. That is effectively how I do it. Now, if for instance I wanted to use the GoPro stacked, and there was quite a distance between it, so we'll say we'll cut here, okay? And again, what I'm going to use is my shift and delete keys. And now, if we were to watch this in the GoPro,
not the black quarry, different place entirely. And as you can see, this was founded by.
There's quite a jarring jump there, and it's something I don't particularly like. So then I'll go to video transitions, dissolve, and I'll use one of these dissolves. Generally, they're just a softer transition. So we'll try film dissolve here.
See, this was founded by William.
There you go. Now, obviously, I didn't cut the audio there earlier. I'm not overly concerned about that, but the audio would have added to that jarring jump. So, say if there was a cut in the audio, and it was a bit jarring,
founded by part of Kenny's original,
like that, you can actually go audio transitions, crossfade, and I personally use constant gain for that stuff.
And as you can see, this was founded by part of Kenny's,
and it just smooths out that transition. And that's kind of what I make these videos like I think I would like to see them, and that smoother transition and everything is very important to me. If I'm doing a big scene change, so like if we were going from, say, I'll show you here. I'm just going to cut away all this because it doesn't really matter now. Don't need that anymore. If I was doing a big scene change from there to, say, here. Now, obviously, that's not how I would usually import the video. It's just this big window for you to see is in my way. So I'll show you what I do there usually in a second. If we had quite a jarring...
I'm not a historian, right?
Right, what I would use there is dip to black. And this is a lot smoother.
I'm not a historian, right?
Like that. Now, if you want to, which often is the case, and you want to zoom in quite a bit, what I will do if I want that to be a smoother transition, I'll just hit a couple of frames forward, move that forward, and then I'll put a dip to black at the end of this one and a dip to black at the start of this one.
I'm not a historian, right?
And that just gives you a longer transition. You can also right click on the dip to black here, and change your transition duration. There's a couple of ways to do it. So if we were to go back and say, okay, I want to make this longer, we'll say 1 second. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. There you go. It does effectively the same.
Not a historian, right?
I personally, I like putting that break between them when I'm doing that, and the reason for that is this dip to black is trying to blend stuff, whereas if you blend into nothing and then blend out of nothing, you get a more pronounced blackness, if that makes sense. You get a pitch dark in the middle rather than an actual transition, which is why I prefer to do it the other way. But like I said, there's many ways to do it, and everyone has their own tastes. Then what I'll put in afterwards, I'm just going to make this a bit smaller again because it's very much in my way. Generally, actually, as well, how I would bring in these videos afterwards, once I have the first one set up, is I'll just double click on it and I'll just drag the video. Just the video file. You get it without the audio. It's that little bit easier. You don't need to click on link, and you don't need to delete the audio. It just makes sense for me. Again, you'll have a lot of your own taste here. So then what I'm going to do is I'll grab my channel bits, which are these two, and these are made for me by David. His link is in the description of every video that these have appeared in, because I really appreciate him putting these together for me. Absolutely sound them, and if you'd like them, hit him up. He doesn't charge much for it. All his information is in the description. So then I'm just going to turn back down the desktop audio so I don't have to listen to me anymore, because I do not enjoy listening to me. Then effects, to get rid of the green that you see there, you want to use a editing thing called Ultra Key. I just type in Ultra, drag and drop Ultra Key, and on this one here we're going to hit Effects Controls, scroll down to Ultra Key, Key Color, click on the teardrop thing or eyedrop or whatever, click on the color, and it just deletes that color. And it needs to be something really bright like that. If you had a full grey background, it would try delete a lot of things and it wouldn't work out. And I just click position and I drag that to where I think I'd like it to be, and then as we run through the video it just appears and does its thing. And that's kind of why I do it that way. Other than that, obviously I just pop in my patron stuff to say thank you to all of the patrons in every video, and that's kind of what I do. There's really not a huge amount else to it. Obviously there's a lot more on the camera side of things, and if you'd ever like to see that, then no problem. The only other thing that I would say is slightly different is for a garage video, and this is why I bought a new camera and stuff, is it's very difficult to... It's fine on a bike. When you're going out and you're syncing once, maybe twice, max, three times, whatever, if you're doing a couple of stops, that's okay, because syncing up those mics is fine. In the garage, if I'm turning on and off the camera 16, 17 times, which I do, it becomes very difficult to try remember to sync up all your audio. So that's why I now don't do that anymore. I will do I'll just find a file that's recent that I'll actually still have stuff in. No, do I still have? Yeah, here. Okay, perfect. So Forks with Dean. Now, because of the new camera that I invested in, Fuzzy Chanel, and that was for all of your benefits, really, is I'll grab like a movie file. We'll just grab this one here. Now, obviously, with Dean, I did actually have to remember to put on a lavalier lav mic on him as well, because to capture him. But the blank audio from that camera is like this. Oh, I have a music.
It's a start. But that's good, because the more I have to work with, the better.
So that's just me, again, syncing up stuff. But the camera on the microphone, when I'm working in the shed, is very good. One thing I would like to do eventually is to invest in some like wireless Rode mic things, the Wireless Go. For stuff that I'm doing on that camera, because then I can just turn it on and off, have a lav mic on, and again, you'll all get even better audio. But they're expensive. I'll invest in them eventually. Anyway, I think this video has been long enough. If you'd like to see any more on any of it, please do let me know. Maybe over Christmas, when I have a bit of extra time, I can make an extra video to dive deeper into it. I know it looks and it is quite a simple editing method, and that's what works for me with 2 videos a week in a full-time job. What I would love to do is to spend more time, maybe eventually cut back to 1 video a week and put way more time into each video, and do some more Skillshare courses and stuff like that on Adobe, and because I'm barely scratching the surface on what this particular thingy majig can do, this particular what would you call it, software can do, but it's, you know, it's what works for me at the moment, so that's how I do it. If you've watched, thank you very much for watching. For all of those of you, oh, I forgot one thing. Forget what I just said. The Insta360 One X2. This is actually really important. When you bring in a video file, right, and you rotate it, so we'll say reframe. So this is actually really important for me anyway. So we'll go 4K, scale set 1, get it right. When we go down here and I turn on these pan and zoom and stuff like that and do all this crack, right? When we play this, so I now have set, this is my angle. I'm going to go into GoPro FX reframe. Great, lovely. I'm now going to rotate it until the split in the lens. I'm going to try to find the split in the lens and see where it's really pronounced. So you see down here, right? Now, number one, I've added a new time scale thing, right? So if I just go back, it will actually it's rotating down from our initial start point. It's gonna move between those two, and you can add as many of these time stamps or whatever, keyframes, that's what the word is for them, these keyframes as possible. But the important thing is this stitching line, right? It looks terrible. 1 second, make this bigger. It looks absolutely terrible. If you right click on the video and click source settings, and I'll pick lens guard because I have lens guards in mine, which is why the stitching is so bad, and hit confirm. It fixes it. It doesn't fix it perfectly because there's also dirt and stuff in the lens, but it makes a massive difference. Now, the key thing is here. If I save my project and I turn off Premiere Pro and I say I'm going to finish that project tomorrow, when I come back in, I need to go back in and click lens guard again. Otherwise, it forgets that setting. That's not however GoPro reframe works, that is not a stored setting in the project files. So you really need to remember to go in and redo that every single time. That's massively important. Otherwise, you'll end up with this stitch line, and you might not even notice. And then you think you've already have it fixed, and then you publish a video and you see it afterwards, and you're really angry with yourself. And that has happened to me a few times. So don't do that. Don't be me, because it sucks. Anyway, now this time, really, if you watch, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the people who've asked to see this, and I hope you enjoy it. One special shout out before I even shout out the patrons is the music you'll have heard playing over the background of this entire video was made for me by one very special human, Chewie, or Chewie Pics on Instagram, Chewie on YouTube, Chewie Pics on Instagram. He is an absolute legend of a man. Anyone who's interacted with him on video or whatever over time will know he's an absolute gent. Just a pure soul, we shall say. And whenever this video, he's just going to live in my description forever, to be honest, because I cannot describe how much I appreciate the fact he made this song for me, or whatever you call it. It's honestly, it blew me away when he sent it to me. It's absolutely fantastic. I was fully prepared to pay him for it, but he gave it to me for free. Just wanted some shout outs. So honestly, special human, and thank you very much, Chewie. I really, really do appreciate it. Also, I appreciate all of my patrons. You're all absolute legends, and I can't thank you enough for the support over the year. I know this video is coming out on Christmas Eve, so probably not many people will watch it because you're all busy. If you do watch it, I'm like you. I do this stuff all year round. Holidays are kind of another day in a lot of senses. But yeah, happy Christmas to everyone, and I hope you have a good break wherever you are in the world. And if anyone is feeling extra lonely or whatever else, send me a message. I will do my best to chat to you. And yeah, until next time, thank you again for watching. Adios. Outro crew, are you surprised by how straightforward my editing method is? You see, I've said it many times, I'm an idiot, so it has to be simple. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Okay, bye.